Hi everyone and welcome to the Broken Arrow gameplay video breakdown. We're going to break this down as we go. We're going to be pausing it. It's going to be over 30 minutes because the standard video is 30 minutes and we're going to be stopping it and stuff. So we're seeing camera stuff now. All of this is done in the in-game editor. The entire mission was. We'll have access to this very much like the Operation Flashpoint editor, the armor editors. You know, you'll have a lot of control and flexibility, including all of these cameras swinging around and stuff, which I loved in those editors. I love making missions, so really excited for that here. Graphics are looking very nice. The models looking spot on. I mean, I'm not a military expert, but all looking very nice. Grass, trees, looking pretty nice. So I'm immediately going to pause before we do anything else, and I just want to say, look, we've got some artillery, well, mortars selected here, LAV-Ms. They've got mortars, so we're going to talk about those, but first we're going to talk about the entire UI. Up in the top corner, I will zoom into this when we do the video and I edit it all. But we have our income. So we have the cash that we have at the top, and then our income, which is currently plus 60, and that's 60 per minute. So it's basically 1 per second, it seems to work out as after watching the video a few times. Then you've got the little hanger there. That is your base. That is what you will click on when you want to select units. Down in the bottom corner, we have the minimap. Nice minimap. Gives us a good view of the entire thing. It's colored. We can see those circles there, which are points we have to capture. There's a couple of other things on there that the question mark and things, I'm not sure what those are at the moment. Then if we move across, we can see what we've got selected. So we've got selected a LAV-M. We can see it's got an M240, and we can see it's got an M252 mortar. And that has 160 HE shells, I'm assuming those are, and then under that it has 40 smoke shells. So you'll have a limited number of both. They are independent. It's not just like having one big pool that you can use for either. Obviously you get a picture of the LAV-M itself. And then over beside that you get all of the specific commands for this vehicle. So we have a smoke command, which is a single pop of smoke to smoke itself if it's got missiles incoming or it's trying to avoid enemy fire. You've got the attack command. We've got the stop command. Pretty obvious. We've got a road command, which I assume is move fast on the road, stick to the roads. We've got a reverse command, which is obviously the tank with the arrow pointing backwards. I assume that is reverse vehicle. Down at the bottom, we have the artillery command, which for some units will take you into a sub-menu, which we will see shortly for this one. And then we also have the rectangular box with the little triangle in. I'm not sure what that is exactly. I don't know if that's like select the next unit along, because we've got 2 selected here, or if it's something else. But the last one there is retreat or evac off the map. So that is return to base, and you get a partial refund for anything you send back to the base. Okay, let's move on. So now we've got some infantry selected, a force recon team, and I just wanted again to quickly look at the unit. So we've got a recon team of 6 people. We can see all 6 members there. Any one of these 6 can be shot and killed, and you will lose access to their weapons. So you've got the 2 first guys there, which have a sniper rifle or a designated marksman rifle. I'm not sure which. You've got 2 guys, top and bottom there, with a standard rifle and what looks like an AT-4 launcher. And then the last one there, you've got 2 guys with battle rifles, and I assume the M203 attachment, so the grenade launcher attachment. And if you'll notice at the other side of all of this, you've got 2 rifles, or sniper rifles in this case. You've got 2 launchers, which have 4 ammunition. You've got 2 M203 grenade launchers attached to other rifles, I assume, and they have 24 grenades in total, so 12 each, I guess. And then you've got 4 battle rifles at the bottom there. Then if we jump to the side again to the actual commands for this unit, up at the top there we have a run command. This is sprint. This allows the units to sprint, it appears, and run if they are under fire. So you could pop the smoke that is below that, so all squads will have smoke grenades. Pop your smoke, hit the run, and run away from whatever the incoming fire is, so you're moving a little bit faster and not getting quite as pinned down. Once again, we have an attack command and we have a stop command. And then we also have an attack ground command, or the artillery command. I assume this relates to the M203 launchers, so that you can grenade a building or grenade a bush where you can't necessarily see the enemy forces and you just want to lay down some covering fire. I assume. Let's move on. So, he selected the artillery, and here we go. So I'm pausing again. So the artillery has been selected, and we are now in the second menu. So once you click on the artillery option to use it, then you are taken to this fire mission menu. So this applies, I think, to anything that is artillery, or mortars in this case. So you have a choice of ammo type: explosive, smoke, or cluster. I assume cluster will be more limited. I don't know if mortars will be allowed cluster. I can see it there now, but I'm not sure if you can select that. You get duration, which can be short, medium, or long, which is just how many shells they're going to fire. And then you get the mode, so you can either have a point, a line, or a creeping barrage. Obviously, creeping barrage, very good, down a road perhaps, or, you know, if people are retreating or moving towards you, perhaps you'll catch a bunch of units. The same with a line, perhaps that will also be efficient at that. Obviously good for smoking, so here we're about to see them select that for smoking, and we will see very quickly the player will pull a line down, so keep your eyes peeled for that. I'll try and zoom in on it. There's that line. Okay, so now we get a bit of downtime to just talk about the graphics and the zooming in and stuff. I assume some of this stuff's still placeholder. I assume there's still going to be adjustments made to graphics and things. As we've seen, it has changed drastically from what we saw in footage last year. There's that smoke going down, kind of in a line, kind of not. I guess the line was kind of on an angle there. It's to block off the tank that was there, I think. Now we see them dropping some artillery shell, or HE shells, I should say, on the anti-air units that are there. And some of our guys are now engaging down this way. I'm just going to... I missed it. I'll wait till it catches it. There we go. So, pausing it again, just briefly, we're seeing a Lav 25A2 there, which has the M240 and an M242 Bushmaster. So, this has two different types of ammo. So, again, I think we're seeing HE and armor piercing here. And it will utilize HE for certain targets and armor piercing for others. I'm not sure if you can select these. I don't see any way you can. So I assume that the unit automatically decides what it's going to fire based on what it is targeting. Once again, very similar icons at the side there, as we've seen for other vehicles. I do note we get the artillery or attack position command at the bottom there. I'm not sure if that's just default, that it's there for all units at the moment, or if you can actually, you know, lay down some fire with the Bushmaster. We'll just let this play out a little bit longer and talk about anything interesting we see. Do see some attack commands going down again on those two anti-air units. We see units now coming out of those vehicles and going into the buildings. And then that's the other nice thing, which we now get to see, is you can see there how many units there are in the building and how many are the maximum. So 13 of 32 there. We're about to see the same again, I think, in these buildings. Yep, 13 of 32 there as they go in. Our mortars are now trying to hit that tank. I don't know if they're hitting it with smoke, or I think that might be HE shells that won't be doing a lot of damage to it. Our guy is there calling in, I'm just pausing it because this demonstrates another thing. The player there calling in a javelin team and calling in them in a Humvee. So one of the things that you have in Broken Arrow is the ability to call in your infantry in whatever vehicle you have available. So it's not just like you can only call in your javelins in a Humvee because that's what you pre-selected. You'll actually be selecting, I want this many Humvees in my deck, and I can call in units in this Humvee. Then I can return that Humvee to the base. I will have access to it again, and I will get a refund for that transport vehicle. But in this game, you seem to get a refund for anything you send back, but it's only a partial refund depending on if it's used ammunition, if it's used fuel in the case of aircraft. The list goes on. But basically, you have an option what you bring it in, and you can bring in, for example, in an Osprey, because they're bigger. An Osprey is a big helicopter plane hybrid sort of thing, for anyone who doesn't know. I'm sure that military buffs will have a better explanation than me. But basically, those have a lot more seats, so you can bring multiple squads of infantry in them. So if you select that, you can bring in a javelin squad, a small squad, maybe some marines. They all have a limit to how many infantry can be put inside, and supplies and anything else, but the option is there. Let's move on. I'm enjoying the pops of the grenade launchers and stuff. Because some of these transport vehicles here have those automatic grenade launchers as well. Another nice thing about the UI, which we might as well talk about while not much else is happening, are the stress indicators. So everyone's just normal, and then they go yellow and then red, and it's very obvious on the little icons as the battle plays out. So you'll see, you know, there's an enemy squad and our squad there, red. There's one at the back there which is flashing orangey red, and now it's getting grenades thrown at it. It's gone completely red. So this designates that this squad is under heavy fire, it's suppressed, it's stressed out, it's losing members, for example. I mean, there's a lot of fire going in that building. I do love all the little pops we're getting there from the grenades going in from those vehicles. The explosions are very nice. Smoke's very pretty. I mean, I'm not just looking at this right now for pretty graphics, and I'm looking for gameplay, how it plays. Smoke there from those recon infantry, and they're now running. So that was a smoke pop, and then he also utilized the run or sprint command to get them into a building so they've got better cover. You see more units being called in there in various vehicles. The player is clicking very, very fast. I'm not sure if this is sped up slightly or if this is the speed it is, and the person is just very fast at calling stuff in. I kind of wish they'd slowed this down, or maybe talking through what they were doing. Maybe that's a bit wishful thinking. So we've had the javelin guys arrive. Look at this javelin missile. They've got 2 launchers. They fired 2 missiles. It goes up and comes down. That's what a javelin does. That's what a hellfire does. It goes up and comes down on the roof of its target. Really, really nice to see that implemented as well. Obviously, some vehicles can smoke. Well, I think most vehicles can smoke. Some will also have countermeasures if you upgrade them to that. I think there are like active protection systems for some tanks to stave off some of these missiles. There go the javelins again, firing at those over there. Missiles are pretty accurate in this game, I understand, from what Felix said in the interview. Got a recon unit back there, look. You can just see at the bottom those little recon binoculars on that vehicle, but it's under heavy fire from our guys. Again, some more units being called in there very, very quickly. I am wondering if this is slightly sped up by the speed sometimes that this person is managing to click on stuff. I suppose they wouldn't want this to be an hour long if they can slow it down a bit. Or speed it up even, sorry. I also like the, you know, there's some units here. I'm just going to pause it. One of them just got destroyed that I was about to point out. Unfortunate, but never mind. These units have other little icons on them. So, for example, some of them have ammunition icons that appear, and it's yellow. So I assume that means it's running out of ammunition. Then we have one there which has a, well, it's a hexagon, but I'm not sure what it signifies. It's a yellow hexagon. Perhaps that just means it's damaged and needs repair. And then it's also got like an icon on that suggests it's under fire, maybe. It's got that little red targeting reticule on it. Unless that means it's been told to attack something. Not sure at this point. But it is damaged, so I assume the little bolt, it could be a bolt, I suppose, a hexagon like that. So maybe that's what that is. Good ranges on the ATGM launches and stuff, the AT4s and things as well. And javelins obviously have very long range because they're a long range weapon. What I haven't seen so far is anything that sort of designates recon ranges. When recon selected, there's nothing obviously there. I wonder if they'll add something like that so we can see how far recon are actually viewing. And also, does it matter if recon are in buildings is another question. Do they see further if they are in buildings? But, you know, tanks have some staying power, getting hit by multiple infantry squads there, but taking plenty of fire. Yeah, I'm undecided what the little icon for sort of a targeting reticule means on the vehicles, because I've seen the enemy ones with them and ours with them, and, you know, some of them have yellow, some of them are red. I'm not sure what that relates to. I don't think it's anything to do with damage. Could mean that they're pinned down, but that would seem a strange thing for vehicles. Or maybe it's just the other ammo types that they have. So maybe one is the machine gun ammo and the other is the main cannon ammo or something. Or, you know, the grenade launcher ammo versus a machine gun. I'm not sure. More stuff being called in there. So we get to see some choppers soon, which is really fun. Yeah, here they come, some choppers at the side there. So these were very, very impressive to me because of how they move. So they move like choppers. It's not something you get in many games. Choppers often just move backwards, forwards, and turn on the spot and stuff. Here we actually have the choppers. They fly and move sideways. They fire while moving sideways. They fire on the move constantly, not just moving forward. So, you know, they can be going tilting to the side and they move. That's what helicopters do. You know, it's not something we often see. A couple of those Ospreys coming in there. So we're about to see sort of an amphibious assault into the next area, which obviously is another thing that's in the game, you know, it's got amphibious units. Getting a little zoom in drive-by of this vehicle, showing off their models a bit. And the shadows, incidentally. I just kind of noticed that all of these units have shadows, and it wasn't really crossing my mind before, but yeah, you can see on the ground they have shadows. So even the flying units have shadows moving across the ground. Here we go with some Hellfires from that chopper. Now I'll pause it in a second because when he selects this chopper we will get to see something else. There we go. So the Viper that is selected here, obviously again we can see the Hydra rockets, we can see the AGM Hellfires, we can see the 20mm autocannon there and all that detail, which is great. It's nice and clear. And then over in the control or the commands, once more, we can see that there's a new one here, which is countermeasures. So you can see a jet with lots of flares coming off it, basically. Now, each jet or helicopter or whatever will have a limited amount of these. It seems that helicopters at the moment have 10, and jets have 40, which we'll see in a little bit. Now, this can be either manual or automatic. If you leave it on automatic, the unit will use them whenever it sees fit and whenever it feels under threat by the looks of it. And this has a chance for incoming missiles to hit. If you don't have countermeasures, the missile is likely to hit. They don't miss very often. So it's probably going to be a guaranteed hit if you don't have countermeasures. If you have countermeasures, it reduces the chance to hit. If you are actively micromanaging a unit, you could do it yourself and use them more sparingly. Because once you use all 10 on this chopper, that's it. It is out of them. You have to then go and rearm and repair. Other things to note with the chopper are you've got attack command, stop command, and a land command. So you can land the chopper. So just something to bear in mind. I'm not sure if that is an adjustment in altitude as well or just land. Let's continue on. So here we'll see lots of those flares being popped off as they get closer to this next point that we have to capture. And obviously these guys are going to drop off some units. The helicopter in the middle there, just at the side of the screen, that one I think is carrying supplies. You can see it's got like a little supply cargo thing. Yeah, if you hover over it, it does say cargo. Here we go again, a little zoom in on this. I think the amphibious water maybe around the wheels needs a little bit of work, but otherwise it's looking pretty cool. Get the water moving around it. You also get, I forgot to mention, when the chopper was flying over the water, you got to see the blades moving the water about and stuff. Obviously, it's probably just an effect on top of the water, but it's nice to see either way. So we're capping this now and putting in sort of defensive positions. And we've got all of our reinforcements coming across there. Chopper's selected again there because it hasn't dropped off its units. You can see the seats there. Let's stop for a moment. I've just realised. So these transport choppers and the Ospreys, it actually says the number of seats they have. So this is currently using 26 out of 52 seats. And it has 26 Marines in it. That's 2 squads of Marines at 13 each. So that'll drop those off. And that Sea Stallion that was there was carrying the cargo, which it has dropped off as like a cargo supply point. Enemy plane coming in there. It went a bit fast. I tried to pause, sorry. But that plane came over and has dropped a load of paratroopers. I think those are VDVs, I was told later. And then we go, enemy bringing in some anti-air man-pads there to try and deal with our choppers. And there's that Osprey coming back in to drop off all of its troops. Viper is engaging on those man-pads. The other one has taken damage and will be retreated. And we will get a partial refund for that. There you go, Sea Stallions coming back. 40 points you get back. They actually cost 50, so you're not getting the whole amount back. You're just getting a portion of it. Osprey's being called in with stuff as well. Misfire there on the helicopter. It is also stressed and has taken damage. I expect those will be recalled very soon. They're doing a very good job of suppressing those vehicles and stuff as well, though. Really, really nice effect. You know, you need recon to be able to see enemy units sometimes, because we saw fire coming in on our units in the tree line there, but we didn't see where from. And we've got enemy choppers coming in there, dropping people off at the edge. Some infantry squads moving up, which our choppers are engaging on. Stingers firing out of that building, or, you know, anti-air man-pads, so they're getting a good range on those choppers. I don't know if we lost a chopper there. I think we might have lost a chopper there. He's retreating this one. Yeah, I think we actually lost a chopper there, perhaps. I can see an enemy chopper burning on the ground. Mortars have moved up as well now. So, he's called in 2 F-35Bs. Which we will see here. There you go, they're selected. So, pause for effect, and let's just talk about what they've got. So, they have ARAMs, and they have GBU-55s. So, 4 bombs, and obviously the ARAM is anti-air, but they're going to be used for bombing here. Now, what's different between jets and helicopters? So, with jets, we have a couple of other buttons. So, we have 30 in the case of this jet, we have 30 of the countermeasures. We have a button which is up and down, which is basically altitude change. So it can change its altitude from low to high, which could be good in a fight. It could be good on a bombing run if you're avoiding enemy air defenses. Who knows how that will affect enemy air defense tracking range and radar and stuff like that. You get stop, obviously, to stop what it's doing. You get the afterburner command, which means that you can use the afterburners on, I assume, certain jets, but not all. And when you use that, you will use a lot more fuel. You will use fuel very rapidly, but you can catch up to the enemy, evac quicker, etc., etc. Again, I'm not sure if that will have an effect on how your unit responds to incoming fire. Does it mean that enemies are more likely to miss if you're going, you know, full afterburner? And then you have Tactic A, which I'm not sure what that relates to. I assume that there's going to be behavior patterns for jets. So there'll be Tactic A, B, or C. I'm not sure. Then you have the parachute, which is obviously for the pilot to eject. If you're about to lose your jet, you can eject your pilot. Sometimes it will just eject when they get destroyed or if they run out of fuel. And then if you get the pilot with a chopper and take it back to the base, you will get a partial refund for saving that pilot, which appears to be 100. We'll see it later in the video. But if you bring in the F-18s later and a couple of them die and the pilots get taken back to base, you get about 100 returned for that. So that's pretty decent. Anyhow, last thing on here are the two icons at the bottom. So you've got the bomb icon, which is exactly what it says on the tin. It is a bomb icon. It designates your bombing run, where you're going to drop your bombs. And then you also have the 3 rockets, which are sort of aiming downwards. This is for a strafing run with cannons and rockets. So depending on the jet you have, they will have different capabilities. Some of them will have rockets, some of them will just have cannons, I assume. You know, bringing in your A-10 and doing a pass with its cannon. But that's what that one is, and we'll see that used later in the video. So here we go, bombing run, and you can select your bombing run. So that's the other nice thing, is when you're calling in bombing runs and things, you can designate how the bombs should be spread out. Are they all going to be tight like this and dropped on one building? Are you going to drop them on a road so they drop across, you know, a path that you have set? Maybe you want to hit a couple of buildings, maybe you want to hit a reinforcement road of the enemy. I'm enjoying the voiceovers already, by the way. They're quite entertaining. So we're in a very defended position here, and eventually we're going to move on. There's our bombers coming in. At the moment, our task is to take that building, and then things will move on from there. That was our jets coming in. They'll now evac. And if we keep an eye out on the side of the screen above the map, there you go. Do you see that? I'll pause it again just so you can see. Refund F-35B 281, refund F-35B 280. So both of those have returned safely and you've got a refund. You haven't got a refund of 390 because you've used fuel and you have used your bombs. They cost money, you don't get everything back, which I think is sensible. I don't know how that will play out in multiplayer. I don't know if it'll be exactly the same, but I quite like the fact that you can bring in a bomber, use it once, and then get a partial refund, because chances are I might never need to use a bomber again. I'd rather bring in a tank. So it's nice that the option's there and you're not sort of stuck with just bringing in a bomber over and over again. So Vipers coming back in there. They've been replenished after being lost or returned to base. Mortars hitting those buildings there, trying to kill all the infantry in them. There's those Vipers being called in, I think. It looked like they were called in twice there, I'm not sure. I think we're really waiting for them to progress to the next section now. Then we saw that vehicle. I think that's something about it coming under fire, because it was yellow and then red as it got shot, but then the other one didn't do that. I'm very confused about some of the symbology. Most of it's pretty straightforward, but that icon I'm not sure. There's our infantry getting in these buildings. Obviously the enemy still have infantry in one of the other two buildings that's there, and we can't see them at the minute. They're not firing at us. Here we go. The counter data's captured, so we get into this little cutscene sequence, which is from the little video we saw as well, the trailer for the US Marine Corps. And this is just demonstrating that our reinforcements are coming in now, because we've managed to secure a foothold. Obviously very nice camera effects, and my understanding is that you'll be able to do this in the game. So, you know, if you want to make pretty cutscenes and pretty sequences, it is doable. So, here we go. We have the FA-18E. And these apparently have 2 pilots each, which I didn't realise. I was convinced in my head that the F-18s had just one pilot, but some variants have two. So that was new for me. So we're going to see some amazing dogfights here. So one of the things that really blew me away with this video was this dogfight. The air-to-air combat. Yes, the aircraft take a couple of hits sometimes from these missiles, so it's a little bit prolonged, you know, but when I think to playing DCS and having a proper dogfight, yes, okay, so you have some jets where you're going to be engaged from the other side of the map, and they have really long-range missiles and do a lot of damage and will take you out before you even reach them. But, you know, you also have proper dogfights like this where you're weaving in and out with each other, you know, you're using short-range AIM-9 missiles, you're using your cannons. And there's one of our pilots, by the way. We've got some more jets we can call in as well. And there we go. We can change altitude. So there it is diving. And then it can go straight back up as well. So, you know, it's dived. It's come back up. Trying to surprise the enemy here. As our reinforcement jets coming in now. But I just it's really satisfying watching this fight. The time it takes to aim. The time it takes to, you know, turn to actually get the angle on your enemy before you can fire your missile. That's all here. The attempts to dodge the missiles, the flaring as they come in. And shortly we get to see, as this fight progresses, use of the cannons as well. And, you know, that's something really satisfying to watch. And if you've ever played DCS and you're in a dogfight with someone, it is so satisfying to be the pilot that manages to get behind the enemy and open up with the main cannon. That is incredibly satisfying. So, you know, to have all of that aspect in the air combat in the game, it really works for me. I know it might not be to everyone's taste, but I was really blown away with the air combat here. I think they did a fantastic job. And I think it's good that, you know, these planes aren't necessarily dying in one hit. Look at that. That is so satisfying. There are a couple of instances like that, and I think one later on where I honestly think the F-18 would crash into the other jet when it comes round to fire its cannon. But it's so satisfying to see. So we lost a couple of pilots there. We lost a couple of jets. I do like how the camera is nicely trailing the jets as well during all of this. I feel like there's quite good camera control here. Again, really nice air combat. I don't know how everyone else feels. Let me know in the comments. But I really, if I could take away anything from this video that really blew me away, it was the air combat. You know, UI's great. The knowing stuff stressed. Or here we go. This almost looks like the F-18 would crash into that jet's fuselage. But yeah, UI is really good. Very understandable for the most part. There's a couple of queries, but mostly very understandable. Really like the stress mechanic. Really obvious. Everything is very clear at the bottom, you know, when you've got something selected. But for me, it was the air battle there that really blew me away. Was so impressed with that. Don't get me wrong, you know, I'm really impressed with the bombing run stuff, the strafing run stuff. The control you have over your artillery and smoking and stuff is really nice. I don't know how this plays in reality. I don't know if this is sped up at all. I don't know if it's going to play differently in multiplayer to single player. This is single player. It's a single player preset mission. There we go. We've got our crew from those jets being run to the edge there, and he's calling in a couple of Nighthawks to pick up those troops. MH-60Ss, incidentally, not Nighthawks as in the F-117. So we've got all these reinforcements now that we got now moving up into this area, and we have to take over a bunch of buildings here and destroy some stuff. What we're going to see soon is the option to utilize Tomahawk missiles, cruise missiles, which again, seeing them come in, they're really well done. But we're going to get to see all these units move up. Lots of engagement. Enemy now firing MRS at us. We've got rocket barrage incoming, the little commander says there. And then we're going to have to destroy those. And the player will destroy them with the Tomahawks, which we'll see shortly. Yes, there we go. It's telling you that you have the option of launching a cruise missile strike from the destroyer. I will note there, when he selected the tank, that had 2 smokes available, not just 1. Now you'll notice on the beach there is again a supply point dropped, so a cargo container. There's our MH-60s picking up those pilots. They'll be taken back to the base. That means we got our pilots back and we get a partial refund, even though we didn't save the jet. Marines being told to move into buildings there. Labs pushing up as well, with some recon teams inside. And there's some of the enemy units. Our tanks engaging. Some of these troops are very angry. Enemy choppers coming in there as well, engaging on our infantry. So our Marines there are going to take a lot of fire running across that pond. They're very stressed out. Those choppers also hitting our tanks and stressing those out as well. Couple of Vipers being called in again, and here we go. So the player has selected the Burke, the destroyer, and there you go, 16 Tomahawks you can call in. It also has a work in progress image for its anti-air cannons. It's got the CIWS system there, but it's the Tomahawks we're going to use here. So you select the attack target, and there we go, he's popped them down. And then if we watch carefully, we can see that streak of smoke coming from the destroyer, and we'll get to watch this go in towards its target. And you know, it's a proper Tomahawk missile here. It's flying like a jet close to the ground. It will dodge up and down over obstacles until it reaches its target and engages. And the same at the other side, look. Really nice. Obviously, huge explosions from those things. I think he said 500-pound or 500-kilogram bombs when Felix was explaining that. Now we've got a supply truck here which deploys, and we've also now got supplies going to be picked up. So he's just called in a chopper which will pick up one of those supply things and bring it up to the front lines. So you don't have to bring in a supply chopper and leave it in. You can bring in the supply chopper, drop off the cargo container, and have that as a supply point, and then retreat your chopper. And I assume that you'll be able to destroy enemy supply points so that they can't use them anymore, I would guess, but I'm not sure. But look at all these units coming in now. You've got designated points you need to capture, you need to have your own units in, and then the mission will progress. And the fact that you'll be able to do all this yourself, I think is really nice. Really good range on those helicopters as well with those Hellfires. That tank is dead. Yeah, I was going to say, that's in trouble. Again, I'm not sure if the taller the building, the better the line of sight for recon. I honestly don't know. That is a question in my mind, though. Got some what look like rocket-propelled grenade launchers or recoilless rifles or something moving up there. I'll wait till they select them again so I can see exactly what weapon they've got. Oh, our Viper's taking shots there. They need to get repaired. So there's obviously anti-air in that building. We're attacking that with, oh, tomahawks. So more tomahawks coming in to attack that building. Yeah, s'mores. There we go. So it's the small units that he selected there. There's those missiles coming in. Multiple strikes. Very nice. 4 in total. Wow. The building-to-building combat's quite good. You just get the little flashes around the bottom of the buildings. You get, like, the small launchers firing in. It's pretty good. There we go. Looks like that's cleared. Now, here we go. So, we're about to see 2 AV-8Bs called in, or Harriers, as I would know them, as the British. So, there's 2 tanks on the roads there, and here we go. So, they're going to select those Harriers. And I'm just going to pause it. And we're about to see them use the strafing run command. So I'll unpause. Strafing run down. Select and drag. Select and drag. And now those Harriers will come in and just lay waste to that area, basically. You can also see that the little area that is being marked, you can see a red line pushing up it, sort of pulsing through, just to demonstrate how it's going to land. So really stressed out those tanks. Didn't do a huge amount of damage. I mean, it's just a rocket barrage. They're not necessarily anti-tank rockets, but it's caused a lot of stress. They are bright red now. And our jets get out there, and again, at the bottom side, you will shortly see we get a refund for those. Not a complete refund, but a partial refund, because obviously we have utilised the weapons and fuel in that jet. And this will now progress. We must be really near the end now. I'm just going to check. Yeah, we've got just a few minutes left of this, because it ends very abruptly. You can see the night attack jets, the AV-8Bs got refunded there. But yeah, I mean, the UI is very clean. It's very simple. Mostly it's very understandable. There's a couple of symbols popping up that I'm like, I don't know what that means. You know, is the binoculars that it's a recon unit, or the binoculars, because our recon units don't have those binoculars, does it just mean that the enemy unit knows it's been seen, or does it mean that that's got recon capability? I'm not sure. And also, you know, what do all the little symbols that are appearing around it mean? Does the targeting icon mean it's been targeted, or it's just stressed, or it's under fire? Because not everything seems to get that. It seems to be limited to vehicles. So a few questions there. Well, I think we're going to see that chopper picking up the cargo thing soon. I do recall it being towards the end of the video. There's a couple of supply trucks deployed there to rearm everything. And that's the nice thing, the supply trucks sort of deploy their supplies so they can feed the vehicles around them. Chopper's being brought back in to take out these infantry and buildings. Where's this chopper? There we go. So chopper being called in there to pick that up. And shortly it will pick up that entire container and then drop it off at the front lines. Which I think is a really nice thing to see. It just means that, you know, you're not putting this down and then it's stuck there. You can call the chopper back in to move it as you advance through the map. Which I think is quite good. Because I was worried when I first saw it get put down that it would be locked there. But no, it's not that limiting. There's lots of flexibility. Obviously, you're taking a risk by bringing the chopper in closer to the front lines to drop it off again. But, you know, that you're rewarded with the fact that you have supplies at the front line. The map as a whole looks really nice, by the way. Just from zooming out and seeing it back here while we're watching this ongoing. There's that chopper with the supplies coming in there. And that's going to land up there and drop them off. But the map's looking really nice. I love the cargo container area with all the different coloured cargo containers. Obviously, I imagine they're still working on the maps and putting bits and pieces in, but there's plenty of vehicles dotted around and stuff. The scale looks pretty decent. You know, everything's a sensible size. It doesn't look like, you know, there's a massive tank compared to the other vehicles. I'm curious about map sizes and things. Is this a big map? Is this a small map? It's obviously a lot of water and sort of a strip of land, so I'm curious if that's a smaller map and, you know, maps get considerably bigger. It's not something they've really mentioned as of yet, I don't think. But I do like the map as it is. The other question is going to be, is there going to be a map editor? Can we make our own maps? This is a Unity-based game, so it's quite accessible, so I would hope, other than being accessible for mods, which they have said we're going to get, and there was the end of the video, definitely going to get modding capabilities. And with it being Unity, I would hope that that might extend to map editing and stuff like that. But thanks for watching, everyone. Please do like, share, subscribe. Stay tuned. We will have more Broken Arrow coming up in the coming months, by the sounds of it, including hopefully a beta soon, which we'll be able to show footage of. I have my fingers crossed. But yeah, really impressed with how far it's come in the last year. Really pleased to see some of the UI and other options and things in there. And, you know, bombing runs, strafing runs, the control you have on those things is really nice. And the air-to-air combat, that was really outstanding. Really enjoyed that. I will have a little think if there's another way I can repackage this in the future and sort of give all the salient points of what we've learned here. But for now, I'll leave it at this video. Thank you all for watching. Please do like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you all soon.